Live from downtown Detroit. Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
Tricky travel before the turkey. How much of a headache is this system going to be when it rolls through the Great Lakes?
But first, it's official.
This is the right call for our fans, for our players, how we can impact the community. It is the right call. It is time for us to do it.
Breaking news that will reshape the city of Detroit. The Pistons are moving back to Motown. And that's where we'll start today at 5. With those words, Pistons owner Tom Gores signaled a new era for sports in our city.
Back in 1978, then Pistons owner Bill Davidson moved the Pistons out of Detroit to the Silverdome. Today, 38 years later, they're coming back.
Bernie joins us now to sort all this out for us. We knew this was coming, and yet it felt very momentous to have it finally.
Sure did. Boy, it was really great. Yep. It was really, really great. You could almost hear the collective scream of joy this afternoon as it became official. The Pistons moving back to Detroit. They'll begin play in 2017 in the new Little Caesars Arena. We've got highlights of the star-studded event held at Cass Tech this afternoon. Mayor Duggan was there. Chris Ilitch, Pistons owner Tom Gores, and NBA Commissioner Adam Silver spoke to the assembled. There's no question it continues the rebirth and rebuilding of Detroit, and bringing back the Pistons adds greatly to that. Obviously, a lot to get to here. We've got it covered. Steve Garagiola shows us how it'll all work out, having 2 teams in the same arena and what needs to be done. But we want to start with Guy Gordon standing by live. Guy, you were at the announcement. Tons of excitement down there, wasn't it?
It really is a sense of excitement. By the way, take a look at the side of the building there. That's one of the parking structures there next to the arena. They've already got the Pistons on a mural. And yeah, we remember 40 years ago what it was like when this team left town. It was a giant vote of no confidence in the city. This is the exact opposite. And it means that now Detroit becomes the only city in the nation with 4 professional sports teams in the core city within walking distance. Calling it a visionary moment, the team that once left for greener pastures has found the call of the city and its rebound, justifying the move back.
Number 1, it is great for the Detroit Pistons. This is the right call for our fans, for our players, how we can impact the community. It is the right call. It is time.
Detroit's not just getting a team that's committed to championships, it's getting a team that will be a committed champion for the city.
The modifications to accommodate an NBA team will be financed with $34 million in city bonds. $18 million of that will come through interest savings by refinancing. $55 million in bonds will pay for a new Pistons practice and corporate headquarters facility, and that will be repaid by the Pistons.
Everybody here knows can't be come from the general fund. It has to be used for economic development purposes downtown. We're going to land a professional basketball franchise for $34 million, half of which is going to be savings from refinancing.
But at the Downtown Development Authority meeting, some citizens wondered why the public should finance anything in the deal for a billionaire.
I would think that the Pistons organization should be able to scrape up the $34 million.
But according to a study commissioned by Gores, economic impact will total $600 million. More than $200 million for new construction, 2,000 jobs will be created. The value of NBA and concert activity, $90 million annually. And we should point out that that $16 million net that will go into the arena for those modifications is going into an arena that the public owns, that the DDA owns, as well as this new practice facility if it's built adjacent to it. Now, there are also some community benefits baked into this. 50% of hiring must come from the city of Detroit. They haven't reached that goal every month on the arena. Also, $100,000 donation to workforce development, $20,000 in tickets for Detroit youth, free tickets from the Pistons every year. We'll have more on the community benefits coming up. And coming up at 6, what happens to the Palace? The smart money is that it's going to go away, but how do we make sure that that site doesn't become another Pontiac Silverdome and another white elephant? We'll take a look at that at 6. In the meantime, with more on how this stadium becomes a dual-purpose stadium, let's go to Steve Garagiola with more on this sharing agreement. Steve?
Okay, well, Guy, from the time we are little, our moms and dads try to teach us about sharing. It's not going to be easy, but it will be part of life. Today, as you heard in that news conference, it was all talk about partnership and sharing. Neither one of these teams has been in the position recently of having to share their home with another franchise. But you know, this is not the first time that the Pistons and Red Wings will share an arena. It's been a long time since the Pistons and Red Wings shared an arena. Back in 1957, the Wings' home was Olympia Stadium. When the Pistons moved to Detroit from Fort Wayne, Indiana, the two teams shared Olympia briefly. Of course, the Red Wings moved on to Joe Louis Arena, the Pistons to Cobo, and then the Pontiac Silverdome before the Palace became their home. And now they will share the new Little Caesars Arena. There's a lot that goes into sharing. For instance, it won't be just red and white banners hanging from the rafters. The Pistons have a few banners of their own I'm sure they'd like to put up. And there are locker rooms. 50 years ago, that didn't require much. But the floor plan on the new arena will need some construction alterations now that the Red Wings will have a new roommate.
Now, if you start out designing an arena for both basketball and hockey, it's been done a number of times. But when your stadium's already half done, simple things like building locker rooms require the moving of elevators.
Scheduling becomes a challenge. 41 home dates for the Pistons that overlap the Red Wings, which means there will be days when a quick change is required, from hockey to basketball or basketball to hockey.
There'll be challenges for sure, but we're looking forward to the opportunity. Obviously, we're looking at doing double headers in the same day, and we're taking a look at what other venues do and how they do it.
How they do it is fast. It happens all the time at Madison Square Garden in New York or the United Center in Chicago, but it's a challenge.
Technology is helpful, but at the end of the day, it's going to be about the people we have, and we have great people here, and we're going to add great people to our team to make sure we're able to do it and do it right.
And it will be a big job. And how about those days in April when you have the Tigers and the Pistons and the Red Wings all playing on the same day right in this area? So it's going to be pretty cool. Very much excitement today. Bernie, I'll throw it back to you.
My guess would be take the shuttle if that happens on that day, right, Steve? Hey, Steve, the Pistons have said they want to invest in the city, not just move here. Is there an indication of what that might look like?
Yeah, well, Guy touched on one, and that is they're going to offer up 20,000 tickets every year to kids in the city so they can experience this arena and Pistons basketball. They have already said they're committed to youth-free basketball camps. They're going to spend $2.5 million to build or refurbish 60 basketball courts in parks all around the city. So they really are committed to being part of the fabric of the city, and that's going to be pretty cool.
All right, that's great. That's Steve Garagiola. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, really something. Now, there's another piece of this, though, for any NBA team, is you got to have a practice facility. What are you hearing about that?
Well, that is very interesting. The original plan was for the practice facility to be built near the new arena, and then there'd be a catwalk that you could go from the practice facility to the new arena. But now they're not sure because I think all the land has been taken up there.
Kind of spoken for, huh?
Right.
Yeah,
so I think they're looking. If you have land and you're interested. But that's what that was. Yeah. But that was the original plan, was to build it and then have a catwalk right to the new arena. They're not sure that can happen now.
Wild. All right.
Thank you, Bernie.
Yeah, a lot more, obviously, to dissect here, including the reaction from Oakland County. Oakland County Executive L. Brooks Patterson, not usually a man of just a few words, released this statement on the move today. We wish the Pistons well. Thanks for all the memories.
Short and to the point.
Short and to the point. Short and sweet. We've got much more to come on that coverage here over these next 90 minutes of news, but we've also got some dicey weather on the way, just in time for holiday travel.
Oh, and Ben is here now, and we've got, what, rain, sleet, and snow coming?
Possibly, Karen, and I will try to also be short and to the point. We are at 38 right now. Cooler temperatures here, but we've got warmer air moving in, and that's what makes this forecast so difficult as we get into tomorrow. We think it's mainly going to be rain, but there will be some periods where we get some snow mixed in and maybe some sleet as well. Temperatures are going to be falling tonight through the 20s by midnight, and that is probably going to be our overnight low. Coming up, we'll look at your 4-zone forecast to see how warm those temperatures get and how much of a headache things are going to be on the roads tomorrow with this precipitation, guys.
Detroit police is sending out an alert about 3 attempted abductions.
In November, a man grabbed a teenage girl near Martin Luther King and 3rd Street. Days later, a man ran after a girl in the area of Ogden and Michigan. And a few days after that, a man tried to grab a teenage girl walking home in the area of Martin Luther King and Grand River. Now, all 3 girls got away. Police do not believe that the incidents are connected.
Right now, federal investigators trying to figure out what caused a deadly bus crash that killed 5 young children in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Their bus driver, arrested overnight, faces charges as police say speed played a factor in the crash. Sarah Rosario is outside the hospital where several children are still fighting for their lives.
12 of those children are still here in the hospital on around-the-clock care. 6 of them are listed in critical condition. This as the community is coming out to show their support. Meantime, federal investigators are continuing to dive through evidence, something that we're told could take up to a year.
More than 18 hours after this bus crash took the lives of 5 young children, people stopped to watch as the wreckage was pulled away from the scene.
We have, of those deaths, 3 were in the 4th grade, 1 was a kindergartner, and 1 was a 1st grader.
The mangled piece of metal is now in the hands of the National Transportation Safety Board as the community tries to cope.
Thanksgiving is not even at the top of my list anymore. Christmas not right now. I just can't think about anything right now.
35 students were on board Monday when the bus flipped on its side, hitting a tree. Police say the driver, Jonathan Walker, was going well over the 30-mile-per-hour speed limit before losing control of the bus. Now he's facing 5 counts of vehicular manslaughter, reckless endangerment, and reckless driving.
They will always be with us throughout our lives. This is something that we will never forget here as a community.
The school superintendent kept classes as scheduled Tuesday to provide counselors for those who need it most.
Pray for this community. Pray for the families that lost their children.
While police handle the criminal side of the investigation, the NTSB will evaluate bus safety and how to protect kids moving forward. It's an investigation that could take up to a year. For now, though, the focus is on the children and helping their families and the community get through this unimaginable loss.
And tonight, a memorial service will be held at a local church not far from the elementary school where the children went. In the meantime, the school district has set up a fund with United Way to help families. Reporting in Chattanooga, Sarah Rosario, Local 4.
Sarah, boy, it's just dreadful. Prosecutors say he used a position of power to sexually assault young girls.
New tonight, the bizarre reason why lawyers for the Michigan doctor accused of assaulting young gymnasts are so mad about how he was arrested.
Also, U of M's chief of police calling it a disturbing attack. What happened to one staffer on campus that has the university on edge tonight? Coco?
It's a party at Detroit Community High School with big names like Big Sean. But there's a message behind this. It's Stop the Violence. That story on Local 4.
This new at 6.
The man who stabbed to death a well-respected interior designer in Grosse Pointe Farms learns his fate. Hear the killer's apology and his sentence. New at 6.
Also, something a lot of people are tempted to do with their Thanksgiving turkey before it goes in the oven. It actually puts them and their guests at risk of getting sick. We'll tell you about it at 6 o'clock.
Team up city and civic leaders along with Detroit hip-hop royalty, and what you get is a pretty special event.
And that's what's been going on today at Brightmoor Community High School, a veritable who's who joining forces to try to help to stop gun violence. Coco McAboy was at the event. Pretty cool way to spread an important message, Coco.
Yes, Devin and Karen, a very cool event, but also a powerful event. They went around the room and they asked students if they've experienced gun violence, and a lot of students raised their hands, and that was really moving, but it was also the point of the entire event, stopping the violence in the city of Detroit. And as you're about to see, city leaders like Chief James Craig and entertainers like Big Sean came for the event, and it was also about having some fun. It's the Detroit C Spire Youth Initiative High School Stage Show. And a show is just what the hundreds of students got. A lot of dancing, singing, and important messages from city leaders that students need to hear about getting their education,
so get up, get out, and get something.
Knowing their importance.
But all of you, all of us have self-worth.
And stopping the violence in the city of Detroit.
If you know right from wrong, let me see here.
Reggie Reg, the president of the initiative, talked about how gun violence stole the life of his little brother.
This guy aimed and clipped and emptied everything out of that gun.
While Chief James Craig encouraged students to make a difference.
I wanted to be part of the solution. So what I did is I joined the DPD.
And yes, even Big Sean, a Detroiter himself, came for the occasion. Driving home the message to students that they can be anything they want to in life They just have to believe it's possible. So again, a very cool event, and it was so nice to see the students participating and really enjoying themselves. And it wasn't just high school students, but also middle schoolers and elementary age school students. So just obviously starting them young with that very important message of stopping the violence. Reporting live this evening, I'm Coco McAvoy, Local 4.
Yeah, Coco, that looked like a great day.
And they have the role models. Which is so nice
everywhere there, exactly, a room full of them. Some terrifying moments for a staff member at the University of Michigan Ann Arbor campus.
Police say that on Thursday morning, the victim was putting coins in a meter on Observatory Street near Washington Heights. That is when 4 college-aged men allegedly ran toward her, elbowed her, and then knocked her to the ground. One jogger reportedly told her to, quote, go home. University police continue to investigate tonight.
Well, it sounds like Ben just sort of opened his precipitation possibility jar and just throw them all out and see what, and they all landed.
Yeah.
They're all stuck.
You kind of have me a little worried.
Well, you know what? After all that we've talked about with how Thanksgiving's going to go with the politics and the election, this may be a good excuse for not having to go to a Thanksgiving. I can't make it this year. If you're going west to Chicago, 96, 94, those are the places that we're concerned about. There's a warm side of this and there's a cold side of this system. We're going to escape the snow, but it is going to be wet from Chicago right through the southern end of Michigan as we get through the day tomorrow. But the good news is the only advisories that are out there are winter weather advisories. That's the lowest form that they put out for snow, and that's in parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin, so well away from us. South of there, even though we may see some snowflakes mixed in with the rain, primarily what we're going to get is just liquid. 38's where we're at right now. Not much of a breeze out there either. Southeast winds at 3. And here's how that rain is going to develop as we get through tomorrow. As we get into the midday hours, you see there's just a thin line where the precipitation is going to be on that mixed side, just on the leading edge. And as we get more moisture and some warmer temperatures, that is going to change to primarily rain. Can't rule out a snowflake at times, but this is going to be mostly rain as we get through the day on Wednesday. And notice this is 7 a.m. on Thanksgiving morning. It's all out of here. May see some showers down near the state line, so if you're getting a late start going down 75 through Ohio, you may run into some showers then. But looks like dry parade for us, looks like dry Lions game. And then as we get into Black Friday for shopping, most of the moisture in that next system, which is a lot smaller, should stay to the north. So just a stray shower possible. I think a lot of us will stay dry on Friday as well. So high temperatures tomorrow, 41 degrees. We'll call it a midday mix, and that high is going to be coming about midday as well. We may actually see those temperatures cool a little bit just into the upper 30s as we get the onset of that precipitation. So let's look at your 4-zone forecast, and we'll sort of break down these numbers. The further east you are, the better chances you have of hitting those low 40s, because remember, the precipitation is actually coming in from the southwest. So these are the places that'll see those temperatures cool just a little bit earlier. Onstead, 34, 35 in Adrian, and those numbers slightly milder as you get out towards Lake Erie. West zone again, the western part of the area is slightly cooler, 34 in Manchester, 35 in Chelsea, and those numbers actually rising a little bit to the north and east. Usually we see our coolest numbers here in our north zone, but that's not the case. We'll get a couple 40s in here before that rain makes it to you in the mid-afternoon. High temperatures close to average on Thanksgiving Thursday. We're not going to be far from that all the way through the 7-day forecast. Make it to 50 by early next week, but that's also our next chance of rain. So once we get the travel stuff out of here, the actual Thanksgiving proper and the weekend looking pretty good.
Let's hope so. We're going to see a little bit of everything till then.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Ben. It is a day full of smiles and love. What's happening all across the state today that's instantly growing so many families.
But first, we're covering stories from across Michigan, including an incredible journey shown on this map. Some very special travelers. We'll tell you about them in a minute.
Through December.
Across Michigan this Tuesday, we're following stories from Lowell over on the west side of the state and Monroe.
Let's start, though, in Bay City. That's where a deputy is now on paid leave after he allegedly fired a shot inside a school while classes were in session. This happened in November 11th at Bay City Western Middle and High School. Police said the bullet from Deputy Adam Brown's gun struck a teacher after going through a wall. But in a message to parents, the school's principal said at first no one had any inclination that a shot had been fired. She says at first the teacher only reported being struck by a small object that seemed to come through the wall. Strange story.
Yes, the city council over in Lowell is ordering a waste-to-energy plant to shut down over foul smells that's left residents furious. The plant belonging to Lowell Energy turns waste into energy. That's when it's used to generate electricity. But the city says Lowell Energy failed to meet its November 1st deadline to eliminate odors emitted from its plant. The failure led to the plant being cited 5 times in 1 week and slapped with fines totaling $1,500. Well, college students will be back home this holiday.
Got a couple coming in, but as one flock returns, another one leaves. Look at this map. This shows you the ospreys raised here in Michigan are heading south, way south. Back in the summer, wildlife officials attached small satellites to some ospreys. They then started flying south in late summer, and this map shows the birds landing safely as far away as South America. Quite a commute.
New at 5:30.
Coming up, the results of our Help Me Hank Ultimate Toy Test revealed. What will the little ones think about some of the hottest toys on the market?
The president-elect changes course. What Donald Trump promised to do on the campaign trail that he's now backing away from.
A very well-known, highly respected Michigan doctor facing charges that could put him away for life. And they're mounting. That story ahead.
Next week. Live from downtown Detroit. Local 4 News at 5:30 starts now.
He was the team doctor for some of America's top Olympic athletes. Now he's charged with sexually assaulting the people he was supposed to help. Today, Dr. Larry Nassar stood silently in an Ingham County courtroom as he was arraigned on 3 charges of criminal sexual conduct.
All of the charges involve victims under the age of 13. Rod Maloney live following this for us. Rod, Nassar's lawyers were very upset about one aspect of this whole ordeal.
Yeah, because he has been cooperating with authorities, they say, and so therefore he'd made himself available if they wanted to arrest him, but they didn't call ahead, and so they went and found him buying tires at a tire store and arrested him in front of his family there. He was not happy about that situation, but the charges he faces now are exceptionally serious.
53-year-old Dr. Larry Nassar's appearance in Magistrate Mark Bloomer's courtroom in Ingham County today marks the continued and precipitous fall from grace. An MSU osteopathic professor, he also served as the U.S. women's gymnastics team physician through 4 Olympic Games. He worked as the team physician for the University of Michigan women's gymnastics and crew teams for many years. But he's lost those jobs after 2 Olympic gymnasts went public last summer with allegations of sexual abuse against him. Since then, there's been an avalanche of sexual assault claims. Today's from a woman who claims he sexually assaulted her at his Holt home in the late 1990s.
These were predatory acts, criminal acts that are just outrageous.
Michigan Attorney General Bill Schuette said the woman was not a gymnast, nor was she a patient.
She was violated and abused when she was just a young girl, from July of 1998 to January of 2005. Just a child.
The case promises to be hotly contested, though, because Nassar's attorney, Shannon Smith, says that there are many who don't believe these charges.
Dr. Nassar's wife supports him 100%. In fact, there are hundreds of people that support him 100%. We have received countless emails and communications from other doctors, physicians, physical therapists, ex-patients, ex-coworkers supporting him.
Now, the Attorney General says, really, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are like 50 other cases, quite literally, or 50 other people who have filed complaints. They've got a 12-person SVU-type cold case unit that's going back and looking at all of those cases. And on top of that today, there was a civil suit filed against him by one of the former gymnasts in his care. And so this doctor has a lot of trouble ahead of him. And again, he could face life in prison if, in fact, he is convicted. Back to you.
Any word, we were wondering about this yesterday, Rod, any word now about the possibility of anyone else wanting to file a complaint in this case?
Well, Bill Schuette believes that there are a lot of people out there, and in fact, he's encouraging anybody who was treated by this doctor who had suffered this kind of abuse to call a phone number. It's 844-99-MSUPD. Now, we'll put that on clickondetroit.com so you don't have to remember it now, but that's the number they want to have you call as a hotline for people to report any kind of problems that they might have had with this doctor or, in fact, any other doctor.
All right, Rod. Meanwhile, the man accused of hiring prostitutes hundreds of times during his 20-year career as a Michigan prosecutor was sentenced today.
Stuart Dunnings III, who was the prosecutor for Ingham County, pled guilty in August to misconduct in office and soliciting a prostitute in exchange for many other charges being dismissed. He was sentenced to a year in jail. His arrest earlier this year stemmed from a federal investigation into human trafficking.
A record high close on Wall Street today as we take a look at the closing numbers. The Dow finishing above the 19,000 mark for the first time ever as this post-election rally continues to push the market to records. Comes after the Dow broke above the 19,000 mark. In fact, it was the first time it ever moved above that mark. That happened just after the market opened this morning, and then it closed above there as well. Experts credit rising energy prices along with strong quarterly earnings from food and retail companies for the jump.
Traffic around Metro Airport picking up ahead of tomorrow's holiday rush.
So now the question is any of this weather that we're watching rolling in going to be a big traveling headache? What do you say, Ben?
You know, if you're flying direct out of Metro, you should be good to go. If you're connecting through Chicago, that's where the problem could be just starting for you. Let's take a look at the map. We've talked about this before. Most of that rain is going to start rolling into the Chicagoland area about 11 o'clock tonight, and then start spreading a little bit further off to the east, and then we'll have to deal with it on the day tomorrow. The north side of that's where the snow is, so up around the Twin Cities could be some impact there, and the showers stretching down through St. Louis and just marginally affecting Dallas, but most of the country is going to be under dry conditions through the entire day tomorrow. Really, the only problems are going to be right here in the central part of the U.S. Tomorrow we'll have to deal with a little bit of that mix as we head towards the midday hours, but then eventually that will become all rain. So again, it looks like most of the snow is going to stay well to our north. If you're headed to the UP, that could be an issue. And we'll talk more about that as we look at your Thanksgiving Day forecast in just a few minutes. Devin?
All right, Ben. President-elect Donald Trump heading to Florida for this Thanksgiving holiday, but not before finishing up some business in Manhattan. This afternoon, the man who has made it so clear he's no fan of the media went to the New York Times for an extended discussion. Brian Moore has more on the big news. Donald Trump saying he doesn't want another investigation of Hillary Clinton. Brian?
Thanks, Devin. It was a wide-ranging interview, but the Times says it began with a familiar grievance, the president-elect saying he's not being treated fairly. Whether he was there to throw down an olive branch or a gauntlet, President-elect Donald Trump visited his media arch-nemesis, the New York Times. The paper was a favorite target of his criticism during the campaign.
I mean, the New York Times, which I call the failing New York Times, because it's failing, it's losing a fortune.
Staffers who live tweeted the hour-long meeting said he began with complaints about how he's been treated, but suggested he respects the paper and wants to make peace. Among the many headlines, he said Hillary Clinton has suffered enough and declared he doesn't favor another emails investigation, but contends that won't disappoint the supporters who delighted in the battle cry, "Lock her up."
Look, there's a tradition in American politics that after you win an election, you sort of put things behind you.
The president-elect distanced himself from extremists on the alternative right, but dismissed criticism about Steve Bannon, who will be his chief strategist, and defended Breitbart News. He also acknowledged his D.C. hotel is suddenly worth more and acknowledged that his brand is, quote, hotter. But he played down concerns about conflicts of interest and said the law is on his side. The president-elect also told the Times he's leaning toward General James Mattis as defense secretary hours after he Twitter teased Ben Carson as housing secretary. In Washington, Brian Moore, Local 4.
All right, thank you, Brian. The plan to turn a historic building in Detroit into a new hotel is moving forward.
The Metropolitan Building on John R. near Grand Circus Park downtown has received a nearly $7 million loan from the state. The 100,000 square foot building sold to 2 Detroit real estate groups under a joint venture. The groups want to turn the Metropolitan into an extended stay hotel, complete with 110 guest rooms. Construction expected to be finished in the summer of 2018. Michigan State Police will have extra patrols out as Thanksgiving holiday weekend approaches. The MSP putting out the warning. The Thanksgiving holiday period is one of the deadliest times on Michigan roads. 11 people were killed in accidents during that time last year. Troopers will begin enforcing seatbelt use and watching for careless driving starting Wednesday through to Sunday.
Today, families all across the state and right here in Metro Detroit are celebrating and growing. It's Adoption Day. Our Kim DeGiulio was at one event that was filled with lots of smiles and even more love.
This Thanksgiving holiday, 3 families from Macomb County will have one more seat at their dinner table because today they are adopting a new child, and that's why everyone is here today to experience the adoption.
Adoption Day in Michigan is a holiday tradition held in courts across the state the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. The day celebrates growing families and aims to get more people interested in adoption.
These children, the parents never birthed their children thinking that they were going to get rid of them or something would happen, but life choices happened.
And that's why Alexis St. Charles was there today to celebrate being adopted by her grandfather.
I didn't have any other family that would take me in, so I would have to go in foster care, and I was really scared.
Alexis's grandfather, Mark, wasn't going to let that happen.
The possibility existed that she may go to a foster home, and that's when we decided that we preferred that she would be with us.
The courtroom was full as people watched the 3 adoptions being confirmed by a judge. Sue Cox, who's adopted 3 kids herself, spoke at the celebration about how important adoption is to her and why those considering adoption should do it.
Let all the greatness inside these children come out, and you can be a part of that.
Sue also set the record straight about fears some have when thinking about adopting.
I've laughed about it and said, you know, everybody has problems, everybody's dysfunctional, so just let them join your family in the dysfunction that you've got.
Reporting in Mount Clemens, I'm Kim DeGiulio, Local 4.
I was going to say, she really does make a valid point. No one has this, quote, normal family. We always say we put the fun in dysfunction at our house, you know, and it works. Right. It really does.
Yeah, really great event today. Turns out the high altitude wasn't the only issue facing NFL players last night in Mexico City.
Ahead here at 5:30, how a handful of fans in the stadium put players on the field in danger.
Strange to watch. And a small explosion leaves one man severely injured. What happened inside this neighborhood that police are saying was not an accident. Hank?
And Devin, the results of our toy test revealed one toy a big hit, another completely bombed. What you need to know before you go shopping coming up after the break.
Coming up tomorrow right here on Local 4 News Today, all the big breaking stories that are trending and will impact your family. Plus, it's Wellness Wednesday.
It's one of the best parts of Thanksgiving, the leftovers. I'm Dr. Frank McGeorge. Tomorrow at 5 a.m., the leftover mistakes you are most likely to make, plus how long your favorites are really safe in the fridge.
You'll definitely want to tune in for that. Also, we've got your weather and traffic always on the 4s. Make sure you wake up with us from 4:30 to 7 a.m. We'll see you Wednesday morning.
It's new at 6.
Kim Mathers, the ex-wife of rapper Eminem, back in court for her drunk driving case. The case is over. What was she sentenced to, and what did she have to say?
High school is tough, but 9th grade can be pivotal for a student's future success. We'll tell you what one Detroit school is doing to inspire their freshman class.
Let's continue now with our Help Me Hank toy test to help you decide what to buy before you head out shopping.
Oh, yes. There's so much to think about.
Yeah.
Last night, the older children tested out this year's hottest toys, and now the little ones let you know what they liked and what they didn't. Consumer investigator Hank Winchester is here, and apparently there was a clear favorite.
Clear favorite. And I'll tell you what I love about the little kids is they can't fake it. You know what I mean? Like the little kids, they either love it or they don't. And there was one toy that every kid loved, and there was one toy that everyone ignored. Here we go. The shopping list was long. We picked up a dozen of this year's must-have toys, and then we brought them here to Thurgood Marshall Elementary and Middle School in Detroit. Thurgood Marshall is the school adopted by Help Me Hank, and today, it's the kids helping us. You better go. This group is made up of children in preschool, kindergarten, and 1st grade. And just like with the big kids last night at 11, this toy in the Pie Face Showdown was the toy everyone loved. A warning for you, though, as you might expect, the Pie in the Face Showdown creates quite a mess. Whipped cream was everywhere, but it was universally loved. And for $19.99, works for most holiday budgets. Another favorite with all kids, this For Real Friends torch doll, My Blazing Dragon. Did you hear that?
It burped.
It burped. The torch doll is interactive. It requires the children to pay attention to commands and seem to operate without any problems. Was there one toy as a parent that you thought was a better toy that the kids seemed to really go for?
I think the dinosaur.
We had 2 Elsa dolls in the mix. One played music and lights up and retails for $29.99. The other, a basic Elsa, for $7.99. Here's the good news. The kids liked both. What one would you rather have? That one? Because it plays music? What about you? You still like this one better? Okay. Okay. But the one toy that was a dud, the Talk to Me Mikey. You talk, he replies, but it rarely worked. And the Ninja Turtle didn't do much to keep the attention of these kids. This is it, the #1 toy, pie in the face. In fact, I asked my friend, Karen Drew, to help me put this one to the test. Take a look. Okay, you ready?
Not really.
Okay, well, you put the whipped cream on, like so.
And I start pressing, put your face
and
here.
then you put your face in. Okay, go. You got a head start.
It did get you.
It did a little bit. All right, you won.
Thank you. Girls rock. I was so nervous to do that. He kept saying, you know, let's do this. And I said,
it's a little risky, wasn't it?
I don't have a change of clothes. My hair's going to look horrible. My glasses are going to get all smudgy.